Now we want to welcome another voice to dig into this education component of inequality that we're seeing in this country. Joining us right now is Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont. Thank you for being here. Ray, of course, is still here, and we should say that he and his wife pledged $100 million to Connecticut schools this Friday. A big decision for
and we
you.
We did it in a partnership. Like, the deal was, we put up $100 million, the state puts up $100 million, and other philanthropists and businesses put up $100 million. So we get $300 million into targeting that education. And this is based on experiences my wife has had over the last 10 years of working with that population. So we have a partnership that has brought people together, that different people who ordinarily would be alienated,
right.
They've been brought together to pursue that mission.
So, Governor, talk us through how this happened and how potentially it would be scalable or replicated in other states, and how this is different. Effectively, we were talking about policy and taxing companies and individuals, how this is different than taxing them. This is effectively a philanthropic effort, but how that would work in the public sector elsewhere.
Ray is great, but I got to tell you, Barbara D'Alio has been doing this at schools across the state for many, many years, working with the teachers, getting their best ideas, and helping to fund them so they can act on their ideas. And I got to know Barbara pretty well at some of the schools where we cross paths. And our partnership now with the D'Alio Foundation gives us an opportunity to take the very best ideas that we've seen working at some of our public schools and taking them across the state and giving kids an opportunity who otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity.
What are some of those programs and projects? I just think about it because Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan gave $100 million to Newark. They matched it with $200 million.
Just the opposite. Those are a bunch of consultants.
It was consultants. They've spent about $60 million on charter schools, but they also paid off a lot of teacher contracts to get out the underperforming teachers. So what are you going to do with the money that's going to be different and really make it effective?
We're taking the very best ideas from teachers. We've got a lot of kids who are, disengaged, disconnected, not on a track to graduation, not on the track to a, successful life in the state, and getting them back on track.
How do you do it? What
that
are some of the best ideas?
Well, rather than jamming people in the special ed, we have mentoring programs. We have tutorials and tutors. We have after-school programs. Things that come up school by school is generated by the teachers. I was just up at East Hartford High School with Ray and Barbara the other day. And there the kids are all wearing their Leadership Institute, where they went back to school in August for 2 weeks just so they could catch up before September. It makes an enormous difference. It's working. We're going to leverage off of what works.
Governor, big education and policy question. How much of this is a money problem, meaning you don't have enough money to do the things you want to do, versus mismanagement? People blame unions. People blame broken families. There are all sorts of issues that, depending on what kind of viewer you are watching this morning, you look at education, you say it's not. There are people who say it's not about the money. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Look, I've held the line on spending, and I've held the line on taxes, and I have asked the private sector to come up and step up in terms of philanthropists like the D'Alio Foundation, in terms of our major companies coming up and forgiving student loans. Money helps. I got to tell you, as governor, I can tell you that money helps. Are we going to streamline things? We're going to make sure, as Becky said, it's not just a top-down consultant thing, but coming up, it's entrepreneurial. I mean, this is what we want to do. Give teachers a sense of empowerment, that we love their ideas and we want to give them an opportunity to run with them.
I'd like to be specific of the programs that Barbara has led and have found highly impactful. The ability to get kids who would have dropped out of school. 22% of the high school students in Connecticut are disengaged or disconnected, meaning they're on the way of dropping out of high school or they're dropped out of high school. The cost of getting them through to graduate high school and into a job is a pittance by comparison to the impact that that's having. $900 million a year is incarceration costs. So these programs are very effective. And I would say the teachers are unbelievable. They get so undercredited.
Right.
There are saints. There are fabulous people who have fabulous programs that they're starving for resources. So there's no excuse not to have adequate resources. There are things like not enough books. I mean, how can we look at ourselves and say that starvation is not...
How do you identify those kids who are unengaged or under...
This is The beauties of one of the programs, you have data. Right now, the data is scattered all around. So to bring those to collect the data and put them on an iPad, and they literally look at the iPads with the kids and with the teachers, so they know who's going, and they know then the points at which it's failing. Right. Like, for example, they drop out between 8th and 9th grade. Right. And at that moment, the mentoring program that the governor is referring to is a program that gets them from 8th to 9th grade successfully, and then helps to provide that mentoring through the high school year to get them beyond. But another part of this is they have to have the goal of a job. So to work with other companies in Connecticut and other places in terms of delivering a job is what the governor and my wife and the legislature and the teachers are working on together.
Let me just add on that it's not just how expensive it is for a kid that doesn't graduate, what that costs the state. I need these kids stepping up. We have tens of thousands of jobs in the state of Connecticut we can't fill. Our population is flat. Now is the time to take those kids who otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity, be it Electric Boat and Pratt & Whitney. We need those folks educated, ready to go.
Governor, can you finally just speak to this issue of the American dream and capitalism, whether you think it's working and however we'd want to define capitalism as part of tax policy and other things? Because one of the things that's happened in your state is there have been a lot of high net worth earners that have left the state, in part because of taxes, in part because of other issues, and that's actually put a real strain and challenge on the system, on education, and on these other issues.
Some are leaving, but folks like Ray and Barbara Dallio are staying and recommitting. I'm holding the line on taxes, giving people a sense I need you to step up and do this. Look, American dream, let's face it, the American dream is alive and well in China. There they've got a middle class that's growing, and, you know, the next generation thinks do better off than their parents. But that's not true in New Britain. That's not true in New London. And programs like this that Ray and Barbara are doing are giving kids and their parents a sense that things are going to get better.
Okay. Governor, thank you for being here this morning. Ray, thank you for being here and having the conversation with us.
Well, thank you for caring, and because we got to talk about this issue, particularly when an election year, and then beyond that, we have other issues.